So my name is Fred Schoch, and I'm the executive director of the head of the Charles Regatta.
And I'm Ed Smith. I've been the trustee and chair of the board of the head for many years, up to a couple of years ago, and I've finally been able to turn it over to a more successful chair.
And as things draw to a close here on Sunday of the 2019 edition, can you look back on another successful year?
I think definitely it was a successful year. I mean, we had averted a major weather pattern that Wednesday had us all a bit nervous. There was significant winds on Thursday that played havoc with the sort of setup. But the wind blew it out and dried out the grounds, and Saturday was probably, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was probably 11. It was so beautiful, and so record-setting crowds, and all of our partners that help support the regatta, BNY Mellon, and all the way through the list. I could, Aston Martin, Harvard Pilgrim, Delta Airlines, Alexander Real Estate Equities. We're all very pleased. So from a commercial point of view and then an athletic point of view, we bifurcate the event in, we have to have the sponsors to pay for all the setup and the infrastructure, but it's been a great effort.
Yeah, and the thing that's always in the background is how is this for all our volunteers? We've got about 2,500 volunteers, and you name the committee. There's 100 people doing this. There's 100 people doing this. And when the weather cooperates like today, it just makes it an enjoyable experience. And some of our volunteers remember standing in pouring rain, standing in ice cold wind, and today was just a luxury for our volunteers, and they make it happen. We don't make it happen, they make it happen.
It is an amazing event, and it seems to be growing and just gaining momentum and building all the time.
We're very fortunate. It's been a good show. We have a well-oiled machine, as you say. People want to come. It's on everyone's bucket list. For a head race to have that much regard and have people want to come here is a real testimony to the difficulty of the course and the organizing committee, and then, as Ed said, all the volunteers. We're going to try and expand a little bit next year by compressing some of the single events and make room for another junior event, which is we're turning away probably 75% of the junior applicants. There's so many people that want to race in this event.
Yeah, that is really the issue. I mean, we are so oversubscribed. We could run a 4-day regatta. We can't run a 4-day regatta. We want to get as many people rowing and have the experience of Boston. And the one thing that really makes this special, there's no race on the planet that when you start a 3-mile race, you got somebody screaming at you. And everywhere along the way, you've got somebody screaming at you. You can't hide on this race course without somebody yelling at you to get going. And that's unique. So we have something that's unique, and it's wonderful. We just want to make sure as many people can experience it as possible, and that's our challenge.
Speaking of which, is there any thoughts about putting some racing on the Friday, expanding?
We've toyed with that concept of doing a short program on Friday. We had a promotional event with Virgin Atlantic a number of years ago. We had a sprint with Oxford Cambridge when Virgin Atlantic launched their gate here in Boston. It was a 250-meter dash, and it was kind of like very exciting for the crowd here. So it's just hard because the reason that we aren't probably pushed right away in that direction, although I think it may come, is that all the competitors that come here get to practice the race course before they actually race, and that's not true at all the other head races. You just show up and you go down to the start and you begin, whereas here most of the crews will take a practice lap. So that would be Friday afternoon.
And the difficulty is logistics. Many of our committees, people are taking Thursday off, they're taking Friday off. Things are happening on Wednesday. If we were to go to even a half day of Friday rowing, that's in the middle of rush hour. We're right smack in the middle of a vibrant city that has rush hours on every road. And so between the logistics of being in the city and then the logistics of trying to ramp up all the volunteers for another segment, whether it be 4 hours or whether it be 8, it's almost the same answer. It's it's not like, well, if we add 4 hours to 16, that's a 20% increment. No, it's like a third more increment, and that's the hard thing. I mean, it's got to work. We've always had the feeling the regatta's got to work for the competitors, it's got to work for the community, and it's got to work for the volunteers. And that's the difficulty that we all have to, we as directors and race committee have to try to figure out how to balance. We'd love to have 5 days of racing, but it's not feasible. And so that's the challenge. And we look at it and we brainstorm it and we test ideas, but it's got to work in all three cases or we don't move forward.
Well, I must say you really have risen to the challenge and produced yet another incredibly memorable weekend. So
Thank you very much.
Weather makes it easy.
Yeah.
Right? Weather makes it easy.
Much easier.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
No, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks a lot.